Plenty in pre-season as well. He will have a huge part to play in any success this club has this season. As for the opposition, Ollie Wright makes his debut in goal for Yeovil. It's a back four of Michael Smith, Jake Wannell, Morgan Williams and Alex Whittle. Two defensive midfielders of Matt Worthington, the captain, and Brett McGavin making his debut. Then a forward three, Jordan Young, Frank Nubler, Dylan Morgan on his debut, and Aaron Jarvis up front. Pools on the attack early on, but a clattering challenge. A shot that comes in and is blocked, and it was Nathan Sherron there almost getting a yard on his man as Joe Gray out on the right hand side. Good cross to the front post, a flicked on header from Adam Campbell. It just goes over the crossbar and out for a goal kick, and all of that inside 50 seconds. I'm delighted to say alongside me Robbie Stelling from the Hartlepool Mail. Robbie, welcome back.
Good afternoon, Rob.
It's great to be able to do this again, isn't it?
It's fantastic. And it's been a long summer, hasn't it? A really unusually long summer. I think Luke Waterfall said to us in the week they've had 9 weeks off plus 5 weeks of pre-season, so it's been a long time coming, and great to be here as well. It's a real proper ground. Obviously Yeovil, a history as being a Football League club, and nice atmosphere, and as you mentioned, lots of different stories going on today as well.
There is indeed. Robbie Stelling from the Hartlepool Mail with us on BBC Radio T Sport. Looping header forward for Pools. Adam Campbell making a nuisance of himself, and it pays off. Campbell with space inside the penalty area, but he is blown up by the referee for an infringement there, and he's looking at the referee as if to say, "What did I do, ref?"
Well, it was a soft one, I think, wasn't it? It's probably one of those that, especially early on, first game of the season, the referee's probably going to give that. But you have to say a really bright start from Pools, and Adam Campbell in particular. You mentioned him before, a real coup for Pools to secure him, given what he achieved with Crawling last season, and he's looked very lively.
He has indeed, especially pre-season. There's been some real nice passes played by him. He's been in the thick of it as well, not afraid to get his shot away. Yeovil Town on the attack down the right hand side, and it's Frank Nubler who's dispossessed, throwing quickly taken out. It comes to the edge of the area. Nubler trying to find a way through, tries to go past Ferguson, loops it over his head, but Jack Hunter was back doing his defensive duties as he likes to do. He's not afraid of a bit of a scrap, is Hunter. Neither Sherron either. I think Pools fans will enjoy watching them this season. Eddie Carlo speaking to him yesterday, our former Pools summariser, and he described Sherron and Hunter as a pack of dogs in midfield, which is something Pools haven't had a lot of in recent seasons, as Dan Dodds does really well to just intercept a pass and almost breaks for Manny Dizaruwe, who slides in, but Yeovil able to work it back to the debutant goalkeeper Ollie Wright, dressed all in a burnt orange. I'm going to go with away to our right hand side.
I'll let you have that one, Rob. Good thing we're on radio, that's all I'll say.
Yeah, absolutely. 3 minutes in, Yeovil Town 0, Hartlepool United 0 on your BBC Radio T Sport. We are everywhere this afternoon. 95 FM, DAB digital radio. We're online as well by the BBC Football website. You can get us on BBC Sounds and Freeview. It's a new Freeview channel. 714 is the new number. You might need to retune your tellies. It was 722, now Freeview 714 if you're listening on your mystical Freeview box. As Yeovil Town in possession, Darren Saal perched right on the edge of his technical area, waving his hands in exasperation. I think we're going to see a lot of that this season, aren't we? Darren Saal animated on the touchline.
Well, he wears his heart on his sleeve, doesn't he? And he makes no apologies for it, and I think Pools fans will respond well to that, actually.
As David Ferguson does well just to guide the ball back to Joel Dixon, away to our left-hand side, under a little bit of pressure from Yeovil's attack. The Glovers promoted from the National League South last season. As Dixon launches this ball up high into the grey skies above us in Somerset. Fighting for the ball is Luke Charman. Wins it. Needs some help. Manny Dizaruwe is it on the edge of the area. The ball can't make its way towards the Pools number 20 though, and Yeovil Town able to clear. Swept up by Parks into Ferguson, who gets clipped from behind and wins a free kick. Yeah, 5 minutes in, and it's still 0-0. Mentioned to Dave King, who got in touch with me to say that There's loads of us shouting pools on, watching in Billy's Cozy Corner Bar in Turkey. He says, could you give us a shout out, please, up the pools? We need a picture of Billy's Cozy Corner. Or, in fact, I mean, I don't know if we do. Do we?
Oh, I don't know.
It could be a very dangerous picture.
Well, it's grey here in Somerset, actually, so hopefully the weather's better in Turkey.
Yes, especially in the Billy's Cozy Corner, wherever that is. Hope you're enjoying the game. 5 minutes in, 0-0. Pools with a free kick. Campbell to deliver, and he just lifts one up onto the edge of the area. Pools pick up the second ball with Sharon. Floats a good delivery. The goalkeeper not convincing as he punches away, and Parks tries the shot. It's blocked initially. Second cross into the area with the outside of the boot is blocked and deflected. Ferguson helps it on its way. Parks collects possession in the centre of the pitch, and Pools keep hold of it. Dodds looks to ping a diagonal pass out to the left-hand side, and he finds Campbell. Edge of the area, back to Campbell once more, sliding challenge, really good there from Yeovil to defend manfully, and then a clattering challenge from Tom Parks right in front of Darren Saul, and I think that is going to be our first booking of the afternoon perhaps. Darren Saul watching on, but a full-blooded challenge by Hartlepool United centre-back that leaves his Yeovil counterpart Jordan Young stricken on the turf.
I think even Saar would struggle to complain about that one, Rob. Actually, I think Pools have made a really bright start. Yeovil more possession based. I think Pools will be more direct than a lot of sides in this league, and we've seen that, and we've also seen how high up the pitch they are, and that's caused problems. You mentioned the Sharon cross. Parks had a miss-hit shot. However, when Yeovil counter, that does leave them a little bit susceptible, and we saw that there. Tom Parks had little choice but to commit, and obviously he's arrived pretty late there. And
we did see that last season, wasn't it? That was a tale of last season, that the counter was always on when Pools would try and commit numbers, and sometimes last season they just didn't have those legs in midfield to try and cover the counter.
Yeah.
This season, Darren Saul hoping that has been addressed with the acquisitions of Sharon and Hunter.
Well, they have to do a lot of running, I think, but I think 89 National League games between them they played last season, and that's another thing as well. Reliable, robust and industrious.
Absolutely. Free kick to Yeovil Town, just shot of the halfway line in front of the dugouts on the far side. Floated into Embley. Lofted clear into touch for a Yeovil throw-in. A score to tell you about in the National League North. Spennymoor 1, Chester 0. So Graham Lee getting off to an ideal start to his second season in charge at the Brewery Field. We'll keep you up to date with Spennymoor and Darlington, who are currently drawing 0-0 with Kidderminster in the National League North throughout the afternoon and every matchday afternoon on your BBC Radio T Sport. We are 9 minutes in. It's Hartlepool United 0, Yeovil 0 at Hewish Park in Somerset. A very overcast and still, but certainly very muggy afternoon in Somerset as Yeovil look to build on the halfway line. Parks just trying to put his body between man and ball, but it's a counter. It's out to the right hand side with Jordan Young using his pace. The cross curling away from goal. It's over everybody and headed away by Dodds, and a foul that the referee David Rock has pulled play back for, and he's accusing Aaron Jarvis of just being a little bit too physical there with the Hartlepool United defence. So Pools have a free kick inside their own penalty area, way to our left hand side. Still 0-0.
It was good defending from Luke Waterfall. I think we'll see that a lot. We saw it much more in the second half of the season. Waterfall and Parks, they're both street-wise defenders, aren't they? That, you know, there's no messing with them really, and they're going to need to be, because again already we've seen that with those two midfielders out of possession, Pools are almost like a 4-2-4, so they are going to have plenty of defending to do this season.
As the ball makes its way up to Charman, now to Adam Campbell, involved early on, looks to lift one back towards Manny Desirue, but the Yeovil defence is there to intercept. Sharon with a header on the edge of the area that loops up into the air and is easily gathered by Ollie Wright in the opposition goal.
Started well though, Sharon. I think doing a bit of everything, and that's exactly what we said. Again, we used, industrious, robust, but dynamic. I think you look at the midfield three last season, probably you couldn't have called any of them really dynamic, but Sharon has shown already that he can do a bit at both ends of the pitch.
As Ollie Wright launches this one up high into the afternoon sky, headed away by Luke Waterfall, the new Hartlepool United captain this season. Nicky Featherstone on the bench, but very much part of the coaching staff as well. Darren Sarll saying in the summer just how much Nicky Featherstone is absolutely chomping at the bit in training. There's been times when Darren Sarll has said to Nicky Featherstone, right, Nicky, you sit this one out. I want you to observe this training exercise here. And Nicky Featherstone's returned and said, no, let me in this one. And he's
class act, isn't he? Still, Featherstone. And it has raised his game in pre-season, actually. I think Pools, for a lot of the time, have been a better side with him in it. I think there was maybe a toss-up between Featherstone and Charman as to who started. I thought he might go with Charman in truth, but Featherstone, he does give you that calmness and composure and control.
And we certainly saw that against Scunthorpe, didn't we, in pre-season game. He came on second half and certainly made a difference in that game. Yeovil in possession. Hartlepool United just staying in their shape, allowing Yeovil to have the ball. It's all inside the Glovers' half of the pitch as we speak, but Pools right on the halfway line, just perched, almost like a coiled spring, just waiting for any given mistake. And as the ball crosses the halfway line, that's when Pools try to close the man down on the ball. Looks very organised, very well drilled as well, as Pools shift over to this near side. Newbley back to Whittle at the Yeovil defence. And now 1-0 out to the right hand side. Newbley's calling for it on this near side, but instead it goes over the top, and Jarvis comes out and tangles with Joel Dixon, who is well protected by the linesman and the referee. And Dixon wins the free kick, but not before just making a point to the referee. Just your thoughts on Joel Dixon, Robbie, because obviously it has been the main talking point this summer is Hartlepool United's goalkeeping department. Joel Dixon, up until about a week ago, was the only goalkeeper still at the football club, and it's no secret that is a department Pools were looking to strengthen in. Adam Smith had been on trial all summer long. He signs a contract, but Joel Dixon starts this afternoon. Yeah,
I was surprised, I must admit, Rob. I thought it would be Adam Smith, given that he's effectively had an entire pre-season. He's been with Pools all summer. Song obviously knows him well. Dixon, to his credit, after a really difficult first season, and it can't have been an easy summer for him as well, with all the speculations surrounding the goalkeeper, has been much improved in pre-season. I still think in the long run Smith will be the man to get the nod as number one, but credit to Sal for showing faith in Dixon.
Yeovil in possession. Newbley, nice turn by McGavin, who is making his debut. Well, that's a welcome to the National League if ever there was one, from Manny Dizarouwe. Brett McGavin just gets upended by Hartlepool United's top goal scorer last season. You won't meet a nicer man than Manny Dizarouwe until he steps on the pitch, I would suspect.
Yeah. I mean, he's fantastic with us, and as we said, he scored so many goals last season that he always ended up being the man that had to come and speak to us post-match, but he always does so with a smile on his face. A great guy and a great player, and Pools must be absolutely delighted to have him again.
Yes, that bit of business is almost as good as any signing, isn't it? Keeping hold of Manny Dizarouwe.
Oh, without a doubt. And you said yourself as well, Dodd's back as well after almost a year. That's like a new signing, and he looks healthy, he looks strong as well. And you look at that back four, they do look physically imposing.
Yeah, they do. Dan Dodds even showed us his scar in the summer when we interviewed him, and he did talk about just how he's going to feel when he steps foot back on the pitch at Victoria Park. As Pools counter, Campbell into Gray, but a good challenge back there by Alex Whittle to just get his foot on the edge, on the end of the ball, to dispossess Joe Gray. And Pools have a throw in parallel with the Yeovil penalty area. Way to our right, we're 15 minutes in. It's 0-0 on BBC Radio T Sport, this opening fixture in the National League season. Dodds, nutmegs his man, tries to go the long way around him, but Whittle once again clears into touch for safe keeping. Yes, Dan Dodds saying in the summer just how he wears his heart on his sleeve, and he said, that first competitive home game in the National League this season against Southend next weekend, he said, I'll probably be quite emotional because it has been a long road and at times been very lonely, but he is certainly playing with a spring in his step this afternoon.
Yeah, without a doubt, massive boost to have him back.
Charman receives it on this near side, the blue boots on his feet as he twists and turns, does well to get his cross away in towards the back post. Desiree is there, he goes down and it's all the way out for a corner. But that is the best chance of the game so far. Good work from Charman on this near side. Swung a low, awkward cross into the 6-yard area. Campbell was there at the front post, Desiree arriving at the back. Neither of them able to get a final touch, but it was in fact the Yeovil defender who guided it out for the first corner of the afternoon. Still 0-0, 16 minutes in.
And it was a lively bit of play from Charman, who I thought hasn't looked quite fit through most of the summer. Obviously had that injury that kept him out of the first half of pre-season, but he's had a bright start.
He has indeed. Corner to be taken. Adam Campbell over on the far side with the ball settled on the corner quadrant, his left hand in the air. The signal is given and the movement starts in the box. The delivery is a good one. There's a glancing header there by the Pools captain, Luke Waterfall. He acknowledges the delivery from Campbell, just couldn't quite get the angle on it that it needed. It's behind for a goal kick, but Pools are looking good so far.
I think they'll be really pleased, actually. I mean, Yeovil have had plenty of the play, but quite often we've seen them go side to side and they haven't been able to work out yet how to play through Pools, and that's exactly what Sarr wants. He places just as much value on his team out of possession as he does in possession. And then we've seen a few lively moments, Campbell and Charman, and the set piece there. I think Pools are going to be dangerous from set pieces. Scored a few in pre-season, haven't been very good in the last couple of years, but you look at the size and strength of a number of their players, both in terms of Manny D, the midfield looks much more physical, and the backline, as we said. You'd fancy them to, especially with Campbell's delivery, you'd fancy them to be a bit more prolific from set pieces this season.
The voice of Robbie Stelling from the Hartlepool Mail with us this afternoon on BBC Radio T Sport. It's good to be back. Here we go again, eh? The National League campaign underway in full swing, and Pools with defending to do. Newly promoted Yeovil Town on the attack with Morgan on this near side. Back to Whittle. Now McGavin making his debut for the Glovers. Yeovil a Mark Cooper side who like to keep possession, like to try and move it around. I'm told that Mark Cooper is a manager at Yeovil who has divided opinion at times with the style of play. The pessimistic fans feel it's too much sideways passing. The optimistic fans are very much happy to see the team dominating possession last season as they got promoted. That's at least what I was told by our colleagues at BBC Radio Somerset.
And I'm sure that will resonate with plenty of Hartlepool United fans as well. I mean, obviously they're stepping up in class. So you look at Yeovil in the National League South, they are really too big a club for that level, and you would imagine they had probably the biggest or one of the biggest budgets. So maybe you can afford to impose your own style on the game. It's going to be interesting to see how they adjust to that in terms of making the step up. Will they still look to dictate games, or will they adjust things slightly?
Newblay looks to clip one over the top of the Pools defence, but Parks had that well read and just lets it drop into the arms of Joe Dixon, who's had very little to do apart from tangle occasionally with Aaron Jarvis, the Yeovil number 9.
And that was a good shout from him, though. I think he had the one, I don't want to call it a nervous moment, he really got clattered, didn't he, by Jarvis, but he collected the ball right on the edge. Probably won't have appreciated, I imagine it was Yeovil that made the decision to switch ends, because he's got the Yeovil fans at his back. Although the atmosphere has calmed a little bit, it built really nicely prior to kick-off, but to Pool's great credit, they've managed to subdue the home fans quite a bit.
Yeah, the drummers away to our left are yet to find their beat as Manny Desiree, never short of rhythm, looks to curl one into the penalty area, but comes all the way through. A clattering challenge there from Nathan Sherron. Well, if anybody is in any doubt as to what Nathan Sherron is going to offer this season, just stick that on a GIF.
Yes, yeah, I mean, I think he's a little bit fortunate not to get a yellow card, maybe just the stage of the game, the stage of the season. I think there's a balance to be had. You want to be aggressive, you want to be front foot, you want to be difficult to play against, but there's no point in flying into challenges when, you know, the ball is in Yeovil's own third down by the corner. I understand that you're trying to set the tone and set the tempo, but I'm not sure that was a challenge you needed to make.
Thank you to Roy Kelly, who's been in touch. He's a journalist for Hartlepool Life, who just says surprise Charman is starting, but good side. We'll go for 3-1 Pools win this afternoon. The legend that is Roy Kelly.
Absolutely, legend is the perfect word, and nice to have some optimism as well.
Absolutely. Roy Kelly has forgotten more about Pools than me and Robbie know combined, so absolutely a valued opinion as Pools with a cross at the penalty area. Cushioned header from Desirue, was looking for Campbell, didn't quite come off. Jack Hunter controls the ball on his thigh, but it doesn't settle down for him inside the box, and Yeovil able to scramble the ball away and out into touch for a throw into Pools.
Pools are a threat though with the ball inside the 18-yard box. I think Pools fans will again resonate with this, that they've seen their side often look very nervous whenever the ball comes to within the 18-yard box, especially in the first half of last season. And Yeovil have struggled to deal with Pools, obviously the presence that Manny D provides and the guile of Campbell as well.
Ferguson finds Charman, who battles for it, keeps hold of it, brings in Hunter, tries to square the ball into Campbell, who then urges calm from Dan Dodds, who receives it and then gives it away. And that is exactly what Campbell was talking about, as Dan Dodds does really well to get back and stop the charge that was coming right at him from Frank Nublet. And that is sometimes what you get with Dan Dodds, isn't it? You know, he's great going forward. The excitement that he brings to a team is sometimes the thing that can get him in trouble, but he always has the pace and the composure to get back and stem the attack. Exactly.
Well, his recovery pace solves a world of problems. When we saw him at the start of last season play on the right-hand side of a back three, he was really useful in terms of stopping the diagonal ball. And then, like you say, he's made a mistake and he's given the ball away, but no sign of any mental hangover. Frank Nublet, I certainly wouldn't fancy coming up against him and trying to tackle him, but Dodds, it was a really smart recovery.
Yeovil Town on the attack. Nublet heavily involved, but Luke Waterfall just reading the game with every inch of his experience, steps across his man and just nonchalant as you like, puts it into the stand. Somebody's getting the telling off from the PA announcer. Somebody needs to go move their car. I hope that's not your registration, Robbie.
Well, I was just thinking that I had to enter my registration for the car parking, and I realised I can never remember it off the top of my head, so it could well be. We'll find out in an hour or so.
Yes, if you have a big yellow sticker on your windshield when you go back. Or worse, a big yellow triangle around one of your wheels. You know.
Oh, don't say that, Rob.
No, I hope not, my friend. I hope not. As Tom Parks gets underneath the ball, it bounces on the edge of the area. Joel Dixon comes out to gather. Parks tangles with Jarvis. And Pools have the ball in the arms of the gloves. Oh, sorry, in the gloves of Joel Dixon.
Slightly nervous moment, mind you. It wasn't actually a great header initially from Tom Parks. It was neither back to Dixon nor out of danger, and I think Dixon, maybe having been clattered by Jarvis just 10-15 minutes ago, was a little bit reluctant to come, given that the ball was right on the edge of the box, but in the end Pools survived.
Charman out on the left hand side finds Ferguson, just gets a shove in the back which dispossesses him. Timely move from Jordan Young to just stop Ferguson in his tracks, and Pools now have won a free kick, much to the frustration of the home fans, who very much thought he should have went the other way.
And just feeling a little bit of frustration inside Hewish Park for the first time, really.
And you feel like Darren Sarr will be rubbing his hands together with that.
Oh, without a doubt. I think he's one of those managers that thinks football is won in the mind as much as it is on the pitch. I think he'll be really satisfied with how the first 25 minutes have gone. The only thing you would say is Pools haven't created that much, the Charman cross and the Waterfall header as well, but they haven't exactly been banging down the door. But then again, they are away from home, and so far this has been a good solid away performance.
Free kick inside the centre circle, floated forward by Parks, headed away by Yeovil, who looked to spring the counter. The out is Nublet on this near side, but the ball skips up off the turf and out into touch. Just a moment of notice there while we were waiting for Tom Parks to take that free kick. Darren Sarr over on the far side, and the message was very clear, and it was towards Joe Gray and Luke Charman to get tighter towards Manny Desirue. At present, they've been holding the width right on the touchline. He wants to get them much closer to Desiree, and you would think the idea there being that they can work off Desiree when that ball comes up to the Pool striker. As Ferguson in possession, looks to hit a diagonal towards Joe Gray, who almost gets the beating of his man, and the throw-in, unfortunately, much to the shock of Joe Gray. The throw-in goes the other way. Let's get an update from Ray Simpson for the first time this season in the National League North. He's watching Darlington against Kidderminster. Happy new season, Ray, is it?
No, at the moment it isn't, Rob. It's Darlington 0, Kidderminster 1. The visitors have just taken the lead. A cross in from the left-hand side by Maz Kouya towards the far post, where Amari Morgan-Smith headed past Pete Jameson. Quakers have had 2 opportunities before then. Cedric Nairn burst past 2 defenders, hit a right-foot shot, which was saved by Christian Dibble. And then from Quakers' second corner on 18 minutes, Jarrett Rivers floated the ball into the penalty area, where the new signing Jack Maskell headed towards goal, but the ball was blocked a couple of yards out. 24 minutes gone, Darlington 0, Kidderminster 1.
Apologies, Ray, I jinxed it there, didn't I? Yes, Darlington 0, Kidderminster 1. Still time for the Quakers to get back into it, though. Ray Simpson keeping us right up to date with everything in terms of Darlington on BBC Radio T Sport on your match day this season. We'll be back whenever a ball hits the back of the net between Darlington and Kidderminster. Meanwhile, here at Hewish Park in Somerset, it's Yeovil 0, it's Hartlepool United 0. 27 minutes on the clock. We have a break in play here because Tom Parks just got almost like a clip round the ear by Aaron Jarvis. The referee let play go on. Parks then went down clutching at his head. It was a bit naughty from Aaron Jarvis, who he's had that in him all game, hasn't he? I know we're only 25 minutes in, but every single bit of action from Aaron Jarvis is him trying to get under the skin of Hartlepool United. It almost worked there.
Well, I think he's the kind of player that Darren Sarr would love to have in his team, actually, because he is a real wind-up merchant.
He really is, and it's working at present, although I wouldn't fancy his chances against Luke Waterfall or Tom Parks, to be fair, as Yeovil on the attack. Morgan just gets his legs swept from underneath him, and Joe Gray is going to get a booking. It's a yellow card, and the home fans think that is well overdue. Pools have 2 men in the book now. Gray joins Tom Parks in referee David Rock's notebook.
And Gray looks aghast, but I'm not sure he can really have any complaints. I think he's frustrated because he didn't get a throw-in down on the near side a couple of minutes ago, but he's racing back and he's stopped the counter-attack, and that's probably the one thing where Pools have looked a little bit at risk. They do look susceptible to the counter-attack, given that they're willing to throw so many bodies forward.
He always does the Macaulay Culkin Home Alone, doesn't he, whenever he gets accused of a foul, Joe Gray.
He's not the best actor, I'm afraid, is he?
No, he's not, is he? Free kick for Yeovil, floated into the area. That's teasing, headed away by Desiree. Shot on the edge of the D that's crowded out by Hunter. Might yet fall inside the area. Dodds is able to hook it half clear. Joe Gray tries to run it away up towards the halfway line, forces the pressure and forces Yeovil back to their goalkeeper, Ollie Wright. But the home side starting to grow in confidence in the last few moments, Robbie.
Yeah, a little bit. They are. It's really good bit defending from Hunter, and you'd probably say the same thing about Yeovil as you would about Pools. They won't be too disappointed with how the game has started. They'll feel like they are dictating the game. They're able to play their own style of football. The only thing is, again, they haven't really created much.
Ball over the top. That's danger. Tom Parks is able to get between man and ball. Well, the home fans once more think that Parks got something on that pass back towards Joel Dixon.
It's almost the first curse of the commentator of the season, wasn't it? As soon as I say Yeovil haven't created anything, I look up and there's a ball over the top, and Dixon's sort of in no man's land, and Parks is tracking back. And you'd have to say Jarvis has certainly caused plenty of problems, and he's not afraid to put himself about. And that seems to have rattled Parks slightly, who hasn't quite got a hold on him just yet.
And now Nathan Sherron is penalised for tangling with Dylan Morgan, who's making his debut for Yeovil this afternoon. The free kick quickly taken. Don't worry, Robbie, I've made a career out of being a curse of a commentator. We just need to say that Manny Desiree doesn't look like he's going to score.
Yeah, exactly.
And that will hopefully right all the wrongs. And he'll come up with his his much sought after hat-trick this afternoon.
We haven't seen much of him yet, actually.
No.
Again, probably just the fact that Pools haven't had much of the play, because they certainly will look to use him as maybe more of a traditional target man this season. Pools will look to get back to front really quickly.
Half an hour gone. BBC Radio Tees Sport, 95 FM, DAB Digital Radio, Freeview 714. Thank you for being with us, however you are listening to us on this, the first weekend of the new season. Middlesbrough with the win over Swansea, their first win on the opening day in 10 years. Emmanuel Latte-Lat from the penalty spot. And this, our second commentary of the afternoon. It's Yeovil 0, Pools 0. And Pools judged to have ran the ball out of play over on the far side. And Darren Sarl giving the fourth official. What for? Meanwhile, Mark Cooper in the opposition dugout stood almost perched on the advertising boards, just places his hands in his pockets as he returns to his dugout on the far side.
Say I don't envy the fourth official this afternoon.
Yes. You're very much between a rock and a hard place there, aren't you?
Yes, without a doubt. And as we said, Sarl will make no apologies for his touchline manner. He likes to head and kick every ball, and I think, especially when we get back to Victoria Park, the fans are going to really warm to that. They love a bit of blood and thunder, don't they? So let's hope that Sarl is a perfect fit in that sense.
As the referee just keeping an eye on some argy-bargy between Aaron Jarvis and Tom Parks. Just stick some gloves on them and put them in a ring, because it's going to be that type of afternoon for the pair of them.
We're probably already on about round 6 or 7, aren't we,
yes,
as well?
Absolutely. Neither taking a backward step at this point. Newblay for Yeovil, but he's dispossessed by Dodds, who looks to try and spring a counter quickly. Desirue tries to dig the ball out of his feet and does, gives it back to Dodds, right hand side. The white boots on his feet, stands his man up, finds a pass inside for Campbell, who's just touches heavy and gives it away, but Sheron has won it back. Dodds, right hand side to Gray, up towards the corner flag, goes back the way he came as he rolls his studs across the top of the ball. Dodds on the overlap, he doesn't need him. Gray delivered into towards the back post. Desirue is there, but it's cleared back out to this near side by Yeovil, and their attempt at a counter is intercepted by Hunter, who just does the not the nasty stuff, but he does the hard
dirty work.
He does the hard work that often goes unnoticed, doesn't he? He's always there, head on a swivel. Just watching him now, he's constantly scanning the pitch. Where is the danger? How can I snuff it out?
And last 5 or 10 minutes, I think especially, he's had 3 or 4 moments where he's done exactly that. He's identified the danger, and he's quick to get there and, like you say, cut it out. And that allows Sheron to be a little bit more dynamic and forward-thinking as well.
Space for Morgan to run into for Yeovil, but back is Luke Waterfall to his goalkeeper Joel Dixon, whose clearance is long up towards the halfway line. Campbell's eyes lit up there as he thought there was a loose touch, but not to be. The green shirts, the Glovers, have it in possession. Back in the National League after their promotion last season from the National League North. Pools looking for their first win on the opening day since 2021. That was a 1-0 win against Crawley when Pools made a triumphant return to League 2.
Gavin Holohan, I think, wasn't it? Late goal.
I remember screaming at the top of my lungs for that one.
Well, I was actually just about to go on holiday, and I had your lovely commentary, Rob. We arrived at the airport early enough that we were able to sit in the traditional Weatherspoons and listen to you talk us through it. Fantastic. What a great start to the season. And Pools will be hoping, of course, for another good start to that campaign.
Absolutely. As Joe Gray tries to control the ball on his chest, he does, but it rebounds off his chest onto his hand. The referee thought about letting it go, but instead brought it back for a free kick, taken quickly. Newblay, he's like the little engine that could, isn't he, when he gets going. He has that sort of chug to him as he stretches his legs down this near side, and Dan Dodds able to stem that attack once more.
And actually, to be fair, Dodds has dealt really well with him so far. I've been impressed with Dodds. The first 35 minutes of this game, he's handled him really well, because, like you say, he is a bit of a handful. Throw in
to Yeovil. Alex Whittle to take it. It's about 10 yards up from the corner flag away to our left-hand side. Finds Nubler. Back to Whittle. Needs a bit of help. Pools are really well organised at the back. Plenty of bodies back. Everyone behind the ball to soak up the pressure and pack the pitch. Their half of play. Yeovil's job is to try and break it down. Matt Worthington, the captain, out to the right-hand side, but that's going to roll over the byline and out for a goal kick.
Again, really well organised, Rob. And actually, a word on the two wide forwards, Joe Gray and Luke Charman, who haven't necessarily been able to get into the match too much in an attacking sense. I've actually been impressed with Yeovil's left fullback Alex Whittle, but defensively they've done a lot of really, really important work. We saw Charman there over on the far side just check his shoulder, drop back in and cover the space, and as a result Yeovil played the ball straight out of play.
10 minutes ago till half time. Yeovil Town 0, Hartlepool United 0 on your BBC Radio Tees Sport. Darren Sarl, the new Pools manager, took over from Kevin Phillips, who his contract ran out, wasn't renewed in the summer as much as he thought it was going to be. Even went on record in an interview, said 100% I'll be here next season. Wasn't to be. Darren Sarl is the man in charge. Pools on the attack. Campbell, right-footed shot is blocked up towards the halfway line, and it's been very much a summer of change for Pools. Plenty of outgoings, 7 incomings, 4 of which are making their debut this afternoon. Dodds, like a new signing, out on the right-hand side. His cross takes a deflection and trickles into the thankful arms of Ollie Wright.
It's half a chance for Pools actually, just 45 seconds ago. Nice move, really good presence of mind for Charman to pull it back to Campbell, who arrived on the edge of the box, tried to first time it and tried to place it. I think if he'd put his foot through it, then that might have served him better on this occasion. But a good spell from Pools actually.
As a really thin blanket of rain starts to drift into the stadium. Ball over the top that Pools need to be careful of here. Aaron Jarvis was breaking through the defensive line, but Dan Dodds just beautifully able to adjust his run and plucked the ball out of the air, cushioned it back to Joe Dixon as if it was the simplest thing to do in the world, although he was under severe pressure with Aaron Jarvis breathing down his neck. Dan Dodds, welcome back.
Fantastic bit of defending, and he's getting told off by Luke Waterfall for his troubles as well. That really was a cool bit of defending, because it was sort of into that corridor of uncertainty, wasn't it, with Dixon coming and Luke Waterfall backtracking and Jarvis just waiting on the shoulder ready to pounce. But Dodds, like you say, cool as anything, and a really excellent bit of defending from maybe the outstanding Hartlepool player in the first half so far.
Just to tell you, in the Community Shield, still Manchester City 0, Manchester United 0.
There's only one team in sky blue that we're interested in this afternoon, Rob.
Absolutely. We'll keep you up to date with other scores in the National League as we go. We'll have a full roundup of all the half-time scores as well when we reach the break. 39 minutes on the clock here. Yeovil 0, Pools 0. Pools in possession as Charman looks to get on his bike and maraud down the left-hand side, but runs the ball out of play. So while we have a break in play, let me just take you through some of the scores in the National League. Gateshead leading Ebbsfleet by 2-0. Rochdale leading Boston United 1-0. Altrincham 1, Woking 0. Aldershot 2, Forest Green 1. Fylde 1, Solihull Moors 1. Eastleigh are at Maidenhead, and Eastleigh leading 1-0 there. Southend, who Hartlepool United welcome to Victoria Park next weekend, are winning 1-0 against York, and Oldham 2, Braintree 0 is the other score. So you are up to date with the goals in the National League this afternoon. Here, Yeovil 0, Pools 0, 5 minutes ago till half time. A game that has settled down. Oh, a loose back pass, almost igniting the interest of Adam Campbell there, but Yeovil able to keep hold of it just, and only just. There's some fans down in front of us head for the half-time refreshments. Yeovil on the attack down the right-hand side, just about kept in, is it? No, says the linesman on the far side. Out for a goal kick.
couple of times now, though, we've seen Yeovil just quicken the tempo a little bit, those 1 and 2 touch, slightly more intricate passes on the edge of the box. And again, it was just overhit, but for a moment it looked like the hosts were going to steal in inside the shoulder of David Ferguson. But Pools again survive, and as we've said all half, I think Pools can be pretty happy with how they've defended. 1 or 2 nervous moments, but the structure has been sound.
As Devante Rodney has just scored a second for Rochdale against Boston United, the former Hartlepool United man, of course.
Scored that 95th minute equaliser against Pools, didn't he, around Easter time?
Yes, he was a bit of an enigma at Pools, wasn't he? He's one of the only players I remember who made a bursting run down the right-hand side, but then realised he'd forgotten the ball.
Yes, he was a bit like that, wasn't he? But I think actually credit to him, he's really improved. Obviously, he had that one memorable afternoon for Pools when he scored the brace against Doncaster that almost kept them in the Football League. But credit to him, he seems to have really established himself at Rochdale.
Throw into Pools over on the far side, parallel with the penalty area. It's into the box for Charman, who does well to get the ball out of his feet and wins the corner. Does he? No, it's a goal kick, according to the referee, David Rock, who is unmoved in his decision. I'm going to keep the cliches coming.
I know, he's a hard man to please, David Rock, isn't he?
Solid.
But Charman actually has looked lively. I said it before, pre-season, we didn't maybe see the best of him, given that he was coming back from injury, but he's caused quite a few problems, and he uses his body well, and that probably comes from the fact that in the past he has played as a central striker as well. He does give you a bit of physicality, which you often don't see from a wide player. So I've been pleasantly surprised by him, actually.
A game that at present is drifting towards half-time. Pools trying to ignite it somewhat with a ball forward from Dodds towards Desirue, who's very much had to live on scraps so far this afternoon. Pools just haven't really been able to get anything up towards him, as Morgan almost picks up possession for Yeovil, but Joe Gray has it now. Dodds, heavy touch initially, sliding challenge from Luke Waterfall, and Waterfall turns and barks at Dodds as if to say, don't you do that again. Dodds down the line looking for Joe Gray, easily intercepted, but Sherrin charges forward and Pools win the throw-in, and that was all about the endeavour of Nathan Sherrin.
He's shown a decent turn of pace there as well. I think if you looked at what Oldham fans said about him, he was certainly a very popular player, was almost ever present in the 2 seasons that he spent there, but they said maybe he wasn't the quickest. Actually, there's been a few times already in this first half that he's beaten his opposing man to the ball when really he had no right to, and that was another occasion.
So 2.5 minutes to go till the break. Yeovil 0, Pools 0. BBC Radio T Sport in the National League. Our second commentary of the afternoon following Borough's 1-0 win against Swansea in the Championship. Pools with the ball by the corner quadrant on this near side. Luke Charman with a good delivery into the back post, but Desirue tangling with his marker and isn't able to make any sort of connection. And Desirue just making the gesture towards the referee that he felt he was having his shirt held there. There's the ball out for a throw-in over on the far side. Long it goes down the line. Nubler, who's so tired of having to run up against Dan Dodds, he's instead gone over to the other side. Luke Waterfall, a cushioned header back to his goalkeeper and Joel Dixon. And again, I was about to say it's been a really comfortable half for Joel Dixon in that Pools goal to our left. But I suppose Ollie Wright will be saying about the same thing in his goal.
Yeah, exactly right, Robert. I mean, it's not been an absolute classic, has it? But you've got to think from the point of view of the away team. I don't think Pools will be too disappointed in how they've managed the game, really, and reduced Yeovil to very limited opportunities, as, like you say, Yeovil have reduced Pools to scraps, really.
As Campbell charges down the goalkeeper, but Ollie Wright, Yeovil number 1, gets the ball. Darren Sall chasing after the ball as it goes out of play for Pools throwing, gives it quickly to Gray, then Desirue gets bundled to the floor and Pools have a free kick.
He'll be pleased with that, Darren Song as well. Lovely turn of pace that we saw from him, and obviously just trying to inject a little bit of urgency. Probably looked at the clock and realised 20 seconds of normal time remaining. Chance for Pools to get the ball into the box, and probably the last chance of the first half.
a perfect time to score, isn't it?
Exactly right, Rob. And as we said, they do look threatening from set pieces, just to look at, just in terms of how physically imposing they are.
We tick round to the 45th minute. 1 minute of stoppage time. It's a free kick for Pools. Ferguson delivers with that left foot. It comes all the way through to Charman, controls it on his chest and then hits the volley with the outside of his boot, but it flies over the crossbar by a comfortable measure, and it remains Yeovil 0, Hartlepool United 0.
Oh, he'll be disappointed, Rob, and you can see Manny Disarue is really disappointed on the edge of the box as well. He felt that he should have pulled the ball back. I completely understand. I think Charman is well within his rights to hit it. He had plenty of space. The ball sat up really invitingly for him, but he didn't make the most of the opportunity. Maybe just took it a little bit too quickly and lashed it over the bar.
We'll bring you a full roundup of all the half-time scores and the full-time scores, of course, as well, from the championship, which got underway at 12:30. And there is the half-time whistle. So the first 45 of National League action on BBC Radio T Sport comes to a close. It's Yeovil 0, it's Hartlepool United 0. Very little to write home about. There was a chance on 15 minutes when Luke Charman found a cross low into the area. Adam Campbell at the front post, Manny Disarue at the back post, and neither could get a touch goalwards with the ball. The defender from Yeovil able to get in between man and ball and just nudge it behind for a corner. Both keepers, apart from that, were just really untested. A lot of it has been fighting for possession in the final thirds, with that chance from Luke Charman in the final moments there, controlling the ball down on his chest and absolutely lashing a volley over the crossbar of Ollie Wright in the Yeovil goal. But Darren Sarll, 45 minutes in the bank as Pools manager in a competitive match, and it's 0-0. Robbie, your thoughts on that first half?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't exactly inspirational, was it, Rob? But I think Pools were determined, combative, well organised. And I think if you'd said to Darren Sarll, would you take 0-0 at half-time, opening day of the season, long away trip to Yeovil, I think he absolutely would have. So I don't think he'll be too disappointed at all. It'll be interesting to see if Pools come out a little bit more in the second half. I saw him having a long chat with Anthony Mancini over on the far side, so it'll be interesting to see what sort of substitutions he makes. Obviously, they've got more room for manoeuvre in that regard, but I think overall not inspirational, but Pools certainly won't be too displeased with their first half's work.
So the National League is back, but we are still waiting for that first Hartlepool United goal. Yeovil 0, Hartlepool United 0.
All right, Rob and Robbie, thank you very much indeed. Down at Huish Park, I made my way through the traffic from one side of Middlesbrough to the other. It was a close run thing at one stage, I'll tell you, because the 26,610 people getting out of the riverside means that it's very busy, which of course makes entire sense. But there you are. We're going to hear from Michael Carrick in the half-time break, and Aidan Morris too. If you missed Aidan Morris earlier on, you did miss most of Michael Carrick because somebody pulled our plug out at the riverside at the most inopportune time. But Mark Drury has spoken to him again, so you will hear from the Borough head coach in the next couple of minutes in the half-time break. We'll also update you on Darlington and Spennymoor Town, their first games of the season in National League North. Spennymoor were leading early on through Isaac Fletcher, the former Borough striker. 6 minutes, it's half-time there, and that is the score. And Kidderminster Harriers are still leading the Quakers by a 1-0. Not quite half-time at Blackwell Meadows. Amari Morgan-Smith scored the goal there on 21 minutes. But we'll confirm the half-times for the Quakers and for Moors, and we will also run through the rest of the scores for you next.
Scott Makin on BBC Radio Tees.
So we had Greg Wallace on the show quite recently, and I had to ask him about MasterChef.
It's a celebration of people, and I think that gets addictive. We all love food, and I think we just buy into these people working really hard to achieve their goals.
Well, bizarrely, just a few weeks back, I was chatting to its creator, Frank Rodham.
He loves me because he also made Auf Wiedersehen pair.
That's right, yeah.
And he also made Quadrophenia, and
Yeah.
I was a mod, so I'm almost word perfect on Quadrophenia.
Scott Makin
Weekday afternoons from 2
on BBC Radio Tees. Proud proud to follow Hartlepool United.
BBC Radio T's
Sport.
Right, it's half-time at Huish Park and it is goalless. Yeovil Town against Hartlepool United. Elsewhere in the National League, these are half-times there or thereabouts. Halifax 0, Barnet 0, Dagenham and Redbridge 0, Wealdstone 0, Boston 0, Rochdale 2, Altrincham 1, Woking 0, Aldershot 2, Forest Green Rovers 1, Fylde 1, Solihull Moors 2, Gateshead 3, Ebbsfleet 0, Tamworth 0, Sutton 0, Southend 1, York 0, Oldham 2, Braintree 0, and Maidenhead 0, Eastleigh 2. And now earlier on, Middlesbrough began their season in the Championship with victory over Swansea at the Riverside Stadium, their first time in a decade that they'd won on opening day. They beat the Swans 1-0.
Jones gets it now, just on the corner of the area, right-hand side. Taking on the defender, going into the box, going down. Penalty for Middlesbrough. And it's been won by Isaiah Jones, who committed defenders and in the end went down as the challenge came in. It's Latte Lat against Vigouroux. Right-footed, bang, dispatched, bang, right-hand corner. The keeper went the right way, but the placement and the power gave him no chance. It's Borough 1, Swansea 0, Emmanuel Latte Lat up and running on opening day.
So that the only goal of the game then for the Borough. 25 minutes victory theirs on the opening day against Swansea. Other full times in the Championship, because they all kicked off at 12:30. Stoke 1, Coventry 0, QPR 1, West Brom 3, Millwall 2, Watford 3, Hull 1, Bristol City 1, Leeds 3, Portsmouth 3, Cardiff 0, Sunderland 2, and Oxford 2, Norwich 0. All the games in League 1 today kick off at 5:30, but it is half-time in the games in League 2, where it's AFC Wimbledon 3, Colchester 2, Tranmere 0, Notts County 0, Walsall 1, Morecambe 0, Gillingham 1, Carlisle 0, Harrogate 0, Bromley 0, Barrow 1, Crewe 0, Cheltenham 2, Newport 2, Doncaster 1, Accrington Stanley 0, Fleetwood 1, Grimsby 0, MK Dons 1, Bradford 2, and Salford 0, Port Vale 1. And in the Community Shield at Wembley, it is half-time there, and it's Manchester City 0, Manchester United 0.
BBC Radio T's Sport.
OK, let's get reaction to Borough's win then. 1-0 over Swansea, and Mark Drury's been speaking to the Borough head coach Michael Carrick.
Well, Michael, congratulations. A very hard-earned win on the opening day.
Yeah, it was definitely hard-earned. I think we knew going into the game what kind of game it was potentially going to be, the way they're playing, knowing what we faced towards the end of the season and what they've looked like at certain points from the little bits we've managed to catch pre-season. You know, they test you, they work you, they make you you know, be good as a team without the ball, because they like the possession and they like to dominate that way. So we were aware of that. I think we had the tools and the players and the shape to balance that off, and I thought we looked really dangerous throughout the game.
Yeah, made lots of chances, lots of openings in the first half, but Emmanuel Latte Lat from the spot. It's great that he's up and running early in your season, isn't it? Yeah,
it's great for Manu. I think as strikers, the boys thrive on that, of that feeling, and you know, we're missing the penalty not long ago in one of the friendlies. That doesn't really matter. I think just for him to score and get that feeling is off the mark. Throughout the team or across the front line, I thought there was opportunities we could have made the game a little bit in our favour more by taking them opportunity or the final pass, but I think that'll come in time, and I've seen a lot of good things today from the group, really, that hopefully will set us up for weeks to come.
Including Aidan Morris making a full debut, presumably. He was in the thick of the action all the way through, even into added time at the end of the match, getting in the way of stuff, and it made himself an instant favourite. Yeah,
that's Aidan. You know, he's got a little bit of an all-round game, to be honest. He'll take the ball everywhere. He showed that. He'll take the ball anywhere. He's brave in that respect, and he can do that, play off both feet, and he's obviously got a little bit of bite and an aggression about him as well. So we brought him here for a reason, because we like we know the potential that he's got. And I thought today in a challenging game, really, I thought he equipped himself alongside H really well, the two of them, and it's just a start for him again, which is quite exciting. But it's a terrific start for him.
And it's the first opening day win in the league for a decade. Is that something you mentioned at all in the build-up as one of those little carrots or not?
Nah, it's nothing to do with us. That I've been here 2 years. We didn't have a good start last year in terms of points, but that's about as far as it goes back really for me, I think, and for the group. Whatever's happened however long before that is kind of irrelevant for us. But of course, to start the season well and get that win is probably, we feel that we've earned that over pre-season. It was coming, and I felt the boys had that performance in them, and I feel like there's a good spirit and a good bit of fire about the boys, and a humble group that were willing to work hard for it. And I think that probably epitomised it today with a touch of quality on top.
And you've added to your group. You didn't have to use him, or didn't need to use him perhaps, but Micah Hamilton came in yesterday. Tell us why he's here. What do you like about Micah?
Yeah, really delighted that we've managed to get Micah in. I think he's got huge talent. He's got a really terrific grounding in terms of being at Man City since he was 6 and coming through. So technically and tactically, if you like, he's had an unbelievable education through there and played with the first team. So he's seen what it looks like at the real top level. But he's a terrific lad, and he's got a really good family who are down to earth and understand what it takes, and he's taken the plunge to come here and take his next step, and we're absolutely delighted. Huge talent, and over time patience is important, because it's the first step away from Man City he's had. So we're well aware of that, and we'll look after him and we'll develop him and we'll get the best out of him, and hopefully he can have a great time here.
And he must have enjoyed what he saw today. Sun was shining, his team have got 3 points, the atmosphere was fantastic as well, and the fans really backed you, didn't they, all the way when you needed them? Yeah,
it's fantastic to hear the support, and I can't emphasise enough how important that is, and how much that can benefit us going through the season. There's going to be times when it's sticky, there's going to be times when it doesn't quite work, there's going to be times when we'll maybe go a goal behind, but that support and the noise from and the energy the fans can bring, I ask, please, more of it through the good and maybe the not so good, because we'll need it to move on and be successful throughout the season.
That was Michael Carrick there talking to us after victory over Swansea earlier on today at the Riverside. Aidan Morris made his Borough debut, became the 1,000th player to pull on that Borough shirt, and Mark spoke to him too.
Yeah, it was amazing. This is everything I've dreamed of as a kid, and I'm sure many people as well, to play over in England, the best level of football. So this is such a special day for me. My family was here, so try to give my everything for this club from this point on.
And the 1,000th Middlesbrough player to pull on a shirt in a competitive game as well. A very auspicious day.
Yeah, my host dad told me about it last night, and it was pretty cool. This is such a special club. As you can see today with the atmosphere and everything, and how much the football means here, which is new to me. So to be able to be that number, it's something unique and cool, and I'm grateful for it.
And you feel that already, when you say this is a special club, because you've only been here a matter of weeks and months, haven't you?
Yeah, you can feel the culture and the passion. It's so strong here. I've only gotten a taste of it, so I'm sure there's plenty more for me to discover and see. Yeah.
Now, one man's misfortune is another man's opportunity, and when Johnny Howson went off against Heron Vane last week, you came on. When did you know this week that today you would be starting?
I kind of had a good idea, I try not to think too much about it. I just try to go out and practice and training and just focus on every touch, every play, and hopefully if that goes well, I'll be in the starting 11. And I guess I did my job throughout the week, and big kudos to coach for trusting me and putting me out there in such a big game. So, yeah.
How were the nerves before kick-off today for you?
I wouldn't say it's much nerves, it's just anxious. I think I'm just so excited to get out there and play and show myself. And I think the unknown with it all, when you play in the States for such a long time, you kind of, that's all you know. So stepping into this new environment it's all new and it's all unknown. So just feeling myself throughout the game, and some things to work on as well.
Ed Morris made his Borough debut today and ended up on the winning side. Let's get a half-time from Blackwell Meadows. It's Darlington against Kidderminster Harriers in National League North. Here's Ray Simpson.
Half-time here at Blackwell Meadows. It's Darlington 0, Kidderminster 1. Quakers will be disappointed with this scoreline at half-time because they've had the opportunities to score some goals. They had a first chance on 11 minutes when they won the ball outside their own penalty area, and the ball was played forward to Cedric Main, who held up two defenders to get into the box, and from a tight angle saw his right foot shot saved by Christian Dibble. From Quakers' second corner of the game on 18 minutes, and nearly scored from it. Jarrett Rivers floated the ball towards the penalty spot where Jack Maskell, the summer signing, headed towards goal, and the ball was blocked a couple of yards out. But Kidderminster took a lead on 21 minutes when Maz Kuya crossed from the left-hand side to the far post, where Amari Morgan Smith got a yard on his marker and headed past Pete Jameson. Quakers had opportunities to equalise on 29 minutes. Ben Headley crossed from the left. Jack Massell got in between two defenders to head towards goal, but Dibble got down to his left to push the ball away. However, the visitors nearly made it 2-0 on 33 minutes when Caleb Richards crossed on the left-hand side for Zach Brown to volley over the top from 6 yards out. And just on half-time, Quakers had a penalty shout turned down when Headley crossed for Maskell to head down inside the penalty area, and Main went down under a challenge by Dibble, but the referee waved play on. Half-time, Darlington 0, Kidderminster 1.
So Darlington have got some work to do there. At the Brewery Field, Spennymoor Town are leading Chester by 1-0 heading into the second half in their first game of the season. In National League North, Isaac Fletcher scored the goal there.
We're as passionate as you are.
BBC Radio T's Sport.
1 minute past 4. We're in the midst of 6.5 hours of BBC Radio T Sport for you on the opening day of the season for Middlesbrough and Hartlepool United. We've already had victory for the Borough. Let's head back for second half commentary from Huish Park. Yeovil Town against Hartlepool United, and rejoin Robbie Stelling of the Hartlepool Mail. And first of all, here's Rob Law.
Thank you, Paul. We are 20 seconds into this second half. Yeovil 0, Hartlepool United 0, after Borough setting the tone early on in the Championship with their win over Swansea. Pools hoping they can follow in similar fashion with a win on the opening day, looking for that first win on the opening day for 2 years. They failed against Walsall under Peter Hartley. They failed away at Barnet under John Askey, and now Darren Sall returning to his former club Yeovil with his new team, his new side, and 4 debuts as well. So let me just run you through the teams. Joel Dixon in goal, a back four of Dan Dodds, captain Luke Waterfall, Tom Parks and David Ferguson, with Jack Hunter and Nathan Sherron in defensive midfield, a forward 3 of Charman, Campbell and Gray, and Manny Desirue up front. Jack Hunter in possession, finds Dodds, pulls with some really patient build-up play here, finds Gray out on the right-hand side, looks for the return pass towards Dodds, which is intercepted, blocked and out for a throw-in. Just to run you through the Pools bench, Adam Smith, the new goalkeeper who signed just last week alongside Billy Sass-Davies, who spent the summer on trial with the club, Manion Orise, Louis Stevenson, Nicky Featherstone, Anthony Mancini and Alfie Steele. As for the opposition, Ollie Wright in goal, making his debut, back four, matching Pools up in a 4-2-3-1 of Michael Smith, Jake Wannell, Morgan Williams and Alex Whittle. 2 defensive midfielders, Matt Worthington the captain and Brent McGavin, with a forward 3 of Jordan Young, Frank Nubler, Dylan Morgan, all supporting Aaron Jarvis up front wearing the number 9. He is the man that has very much got up close and personal with Tom Parks on numerous occasions already in this game. Robbie Stelling alongside us to summarise for Yeovil 0, Hartlepool United 0 as it stands. What do you think the message would have been at the break, Robbie, from Darren Sall? Back against his old team, probably desperate to get a win.
I think probably the message from Sall and Mark Cooper will have been fairly similar. Okay, we haven't been at our electric best or whatever, but we're well in the game, and I think both managers will feel that in a way the game is going exactly as they'd hoped. I think Sall will say keep it tight for another 15 minutes, and then we'll look at, you know, a Mancini, who is really their only obvious attacking option. Obviously they got teenager Alfie Steele on the bench as well. Then we'll look at trying to change the game and maybe come out and try and win it.
Yeah, I think you're right. I saw Anthony Mancini sprint down the tunnel moments ago, so I do wonder if he is perhaps preparing to come on. I can see Nicky Featherstone just putting his shin pads in as well.
Yeah, I think we'll see both of them.
Yeah.
I mean, they are a little bit limited on the bench in terms of what they can do in an attacking sense, just purely in terms of personnel. Obviously, you've got Mancini and you've got Alfie Steele, who had a couple of brief cameos at the end of last season, but I think has been unfit for a large part of this summer. So it'll be interesting to see what Sal does.
Hopeful ball over the top from Yeovil that lands straight in the gloves of Joel Dixon. And that mist still, if you squint, you can just about see it. It's sort of drifting in. And
it's just like being in Hartlepool, Rob, I got to say.
Know, who says it's grim up north? They should try Somerset. It was beautiful when I left yesterday.
There you go, exactly. It's been very overcast all day, actually, really, hasn't it? No sign of a traditional sort of August weather for the return of the football season.
As Luke Charman just puts a bit of pressure on his Yeovil counterpart to force a throw-in. Pools have done well to make up the yards there. They're opposite the, or parallel with the Yeovil penalty area. Ferguson to take it, the ball over his head, finds Campbell, back to Ferguson, the black boots curls one into the area. Desirue stretching to get something on the end of it, but it's scrambled away by Yeovil, who now look to try and counter with Frank Nouble, who pushes the ball past Waterfall, but Dodds is covering him behind and scoops it out into touch. Still 0-0 with 50 minutes on the clock on your BBC Radio T Sport. With you through until 6 tonight. All the post-match reaction to come. You heard from Michael Carrick and Aidan Morris, the Borough head coach and new signing respectively. That post-match reaction also available on our social media pages at BBC T Sport Borough fans, or you can get it on BBC Sounds as well to listen to as and when you want, with Borough's first win on the opening day for 10 years. That is quite something, that. Every kick of every Middlesbrough and Hartlepool United game with us this season, and how much we love to bring it to you as, well, Yeovil win a free kick. It was thanks to Brett McGavin, who was doing his utmost to try and keep hold of possession. Did really well, kept the ball tight and close to him, and won the free kick for good measure. Smith out on this near side, looks to try and feed the ball through the eye of a needle, but Waterfall is there. And Ferguson completes the clearance, looking for Manny Desirue, eyes in the skies. He tries to win the ball, finds Campbell. That's really good play. Poole streaming forward. Joe Gray goes from distance. The shot on the edge of the area is blocked and rebounds out of Alex Whittle for a throw-in, but Pools just for a moment there had pace, directness, and looked dangerous, Robbie.
Exactly that, Rob. It just looked like it was going to open up for him, didn't it? Manny D won a really good flick on, and Adam Campbell showed that turn of foot and a really nice quick ball over to Gray, who drove forward and looked like he was going to have a shot on goal, which he did, but it was obviously well blocked by Yeovil, who got back in and recovered pretty well. But it's one of the first times that we've really seen Pools look a threat on the counter-attack. Yeovil have, on a few occasions in the first half, looked like they might threaten Pools in that way, but it's the first time really Adam Campbell's taken up plenty of good positions, as has Joe Gray, but that we've seen them really be able to use their pace and stretch their legs.
Throw into Pools over on the far side, in towards Joe Gray, dispossessed, but the sky blue shirts are just swarming around the ball and they have it back. Ferguson, little dip of the shoulder, and goes back to Tom Parks, who lifts it long, but it's away from Manny Desirue, who is asking for a little bit more from the service that's been provided so far this afternoon.
I think he probably could have gone after that, actually. I think Parks is, Manny D saying, oh, it wasn't the best ball. Parks is saying, well, I think you could have chased that, and I think probably Manny D could have. Actually, maybe it held up in the wind. It wasn't the worst ball.
Dodds into Hunter. I have to say, Robin, I know we touched upon it on the first half, but been really impressed with Sheron and Hunter in that midfield so far.
Completely agree. Done a bit of everything, haven't they?
Absolutely. And the ball just ricocheting off Aaron Jarvis's arm there, but play carries on. Jarvis looks to hit a diagonal ball towards the edge of the area, but Dodds is underneath it, and Sheron keeps the ball moving forward. Now look at Charman on this near side. He's got acres of space if Joe Gray lifts his head. Gray instead tries to slalom forward, feeds the ball towards Dizaruwe, gets a touch on it to find Campbell through the centre of the pitch. Now to the left for Charman, running at his man, edge of the area, at the angle, tries to get the shot away. It might deflect kindly. It comes through to Dizaruwe inside the 6-yard box. Nobody can meet it, and Yeovil are able to run it away. Well, that was absolutely calamitous. Somehow Manny Dizaruwe found the ball at his feet when it had no right to arrive there. The goalkeeper sprawling down at his feet, bodies thrown on the line, and eventually Yeovil are able to get it away. It's still 0-0.
It was chaos, wasn't it, Rob? It was actually a really nice move initially from Pools involving Joe Gray, who carried the ball well. Adam Campbell, again, a really nice touch, and Charman, who drove forward. He just lacked a little bit of conviction when it came to shooting. It looked like the opportunity was going to be over, but suddenly, seconds later, Manny Dizaruwe, who was on the deck in the penalty area, found the ball almost at his feet, but he just wasn't quite in the position to be able to turn it towards goal. However, you would have to say in the second half, Pools have shown a lot more attacking intent, and Yeovil have looked a little bit all at sea actually on a number of occasions when Pools have come forward.
Speaking of all at sea, did you notice at the start of the second half, Yeovil ran out to the Pirates of the Caribbean theme?
Oh, did they? I didn't notice.
I just right at the end of it, I thought, is that? Yes, it is. I almost was expecting Jack Sparrow to come on off the subs bench or something, but it wasn't to be. But they are trying to find their sea legs in the National League, Yeovil, as they put a ball straight out of play, as I say that, and Darren Saal just gives the universal signal for come on, let's up the energy. He's waving his arms around in a circular motion. He wants more. He wants more energy. He wants more impetus and purpose from his side, as Mark Cooper, the Glovers boss, is preparing to make a change. More on that shortly, as Yeovil tried to clear. Out of play it goes, and the change will now be made, and it's going to be Harvey Greenslade who comes on to make his debut. Off is another debutant, Dylan Morgan. So Harvey Greenslade on, Dylan Morgan off. The first roll of the dice comes from the Yeovil dugout. It's still 0-0.
Sorry, Rob, I was just going to say, probably a response to the fact that Pools have been much the brighter starter in this second half.
Hopeful ball over the top that Dizaruwe is going to chase. He's wide on the right hand side. Bodies arriving inside the box. Joe Gray is there to try and help him out. Gray with the ball at his feet, stands his man up, drives towards the byline. Oh, does really well, dances around the ball and his opponents, and then finds Dan Dodds from 25 yards out, left-footed shot, deflects back into his mid-drift, but he keeps hold of it, does Dodds. Finds Ferguson, who wants an option. There isn't an awful lot on, so he has to hit and hope, looking for Dizaruwe, and finds him. A header from Sheron that's straight at the goalkeeper, Ollie Wright. But the first shot on target, the first meaningful effort of the afternoon, comes in the 57th minute. Ferguson into Dizaruwe. It is a pattern that we know so well. Dizaruwe down into the turf, and it just sat up for Sheron, whose header, unfortunately, was straight at Ollie Wright, who gathered it on the turf. Still 0-0.
Well, you've got to say it was a great run from Sheron. Like you say, a really nice knockdown from Manny D. And Sheron, who's done that on a few occasions, made that bursting run through midfield, and it's probably more instinctive than anything because the ball sits up and suddenly it's right there in front of his eyes, and either side of the goalkeeper he probably would have scored, but I think you've got to commend him for the drive and determination he's shown to get into the box there.
The voice of Robbie Stelling, our summariser this afternoon on your BBC Radio T Sport from the Hartlepool Mail. So Pools with a throw-in. Anthony Mancini just returning to his seat after going through a warm-up routine over on the far side. You can also see Louis Stevenson Billy Sass-Davies, I beg your pardon, warming up on the far side too.
Not with quite the same intensity, you would probably say.
Yeah, Manny Onarise out there as well with the red bibs on. Meanwhile, the trickle of rain has just upped in volume, wetting the hair and the shirts of the players out on the pitch. Tom Parks heads up towards the halfway line, and the Glovers trying to spread the play, but David Ferguson is there to sweep up the danger, and he looks long into the middle of the park. Campbell can't quite reach it. Flicked on by Sheron. Desirue is going to try and chase this. And he just loses out, but Campbell has picked up the scraps. Campbell onto his right foot. He might try, and he does, but it's palmed away and out to Sheron on the right-hand side. A good move from Campbell. The move is still alive. Hooked into the penalty area. Header from Desirue. Dan Dodds is there to try and pick the pocket of the Yeovil defender and get something on it. But the throw-in is the way of Yeovil, and Hartlepool United are just starting to crank up the pressure on the opposition goal, Robbie.
Yeah, and like what we see here, Rob, like you say, that there's just a renewed intensity to Pools, and we've seen Adam Campbell take up a number of good positions and there, which is really nice feet, and a decent curling effort. I think it's one of those that you'd certainly expect the goalkeeper to save, and to his credit, he palmed it clear of danger as well. But Pools just beginning to turn the screw now.
A goal in the National League North to tell you about, as Spennymoor have doubled their lead against Chester. Spennymoor 2, Chester 0. Here in the National League, Yeovil 0, Hartlepool United 0. Yeovil on the attack. It's intercepted by Campbell, and Sheron diving in, trying to keep hold of possession, and he does. Hunter into Campbell. This is much better. Pools are starting to find their rhythm. They've got the confidence. They just need to make it count for something, as Joe Gray is off on his bike. He does really well to go past one, and then stops and brings it back to Campbell, just waiting for the cavalry to arrive. Through ball to Dan Dodds. It doesn't quite reach him, but Pools have a throw-in for their efforts midway inside the opposition half, over on the far side. The sky blue shirts pouring forward in their numbers when they do, but the ball scooped up and out of play for a goal kick to Yeovil away to our left-hand side. An hour gone, still 0-0 on your BBC Radio T Sport, with me, Rob Law, and Robbie Stelling from the Hartlepool Mail this afternoon. Our first National League commentary of the new season. All the highs, all the lows, the twists and the turns that this division, and let's be frank, this club is known for. It's never dull.
You can say that again, Rob, but it's been a really decent start to the second half, and it feels like Pools have a very clear game plan. We spoke that they probably would be happy to go in at half-time 0-0, and they've come out with a different attitude.
Greenslade, fresh off the bench on his debut, just gets upended by David Ferguson, and the linesman was right in front of it and flagged straight away. And as much as Ferguson is protesting, I mean, you have to be honest, he didn't get anywhere near that ball there, did he?
Yeah, Samuel Fudge, the linesman, you've got to keep him sweet, haven't you?
Yes, absolutely. So it is a free kick to the home side on this near side. It's about 5 yards in from the touchline, in line with the penalty area. Standing over the ball, Jordan Young, who's going to be an in-swinger with his left foot. Joel Dixon jumping on his line. The delivery, left-footed with pace, headed away. Joe Gray helps it on. And Pools now need to get out, because they're all tucked inside the penalty area trying to defend that free kick.
It's another thing Manny D does so well, isn't it, is he defends those set pieces extremely well. He's probably the best. I mean, Waterfall and Parks might have something to say about that. He's probably the best player that Pools have at defending set pieces.
He's not one of these strikers who just thinks that his duties are resigned to the opposition half of the pitch, is he? I mean, he's constantly back there defending corners and free kicks.
His all-round game is really good.
Yeah. And like we said at the start of the commentary, keeping hold of him this summer will be as good a piece of business as anything else Pools have done or will do this season. As Hunter just tries to nudge the ball out, and he tangles here with Matt Worthington, the Yeovil captain. It's fair to say, Robbie, there's a lot more fight about this Hartlepool United side, which probably doesn't come as a surprise, I would imagine.
No, exactly. And I mean, it wasn't that they weren't looking to fight and looking to give 110% last season. I just don't think that they necessarily, especially in the midfield, they didn't necessarily have the engines. And you look at Hunter and Sharon, they look like they've barely broken a sweat. They've covered a lot of grass already.
Michael Smith with a curling ball into the penalty area that was high, was wild, and he apologises as it goes out for a goal kick. Just looking over to the touchline, you can see Anthony Mancini taking off his red bib. He is stripped and ready, and I think we might be seeing the introduction of the Frenchman imminently, as Darren Sarll hands the substitution slip to the fourth official. Sorry, Robbie.
You can't help but get excited when you see Mancini come on, can you? I mean, just think back to 12 months ago and the form he produced that was as spellbinding as it was brief, but you know, there's still that sense of excitement around him.
Campbell finds Desiree Way, 25 yards out. Charman, left-hand side of play. Ferguson on the overlap if he so chooses. Instead, he goes into the area. Campbell back to Hunter!
Get in!
That is a screamer from Jack Hunter on his debut. And it screeches into the back of the net. He hit it first time. Welcome to Hartlepool United. Your new number 7. He celebrates with his teammates. Darren Sarll has the breakthrough against his former club. It's Yeovil 0, it's Hartlepool United 1, and what a way for Pools to open their account for the season.
And he's really deserved that, Hunter. We've said it on a number of occasions. He's been really impressive this afternoon. Actually, in pre-season, he tried his luck plenty of times from that sort of range. And it's a fantastic finish, like you say. You've got to give a lot of credit to Adam Campbell as well, who had the presence of mind to take the ball down from Charman's ball into the box, lay it back to Hunter, and it was a venomous strike. And given how Pools have started the second half, they will fully deserve to be ahead.
As good a strike of a ball as you will see this weekend. On the edge of the area, just hit it. It was like an arrow. We were right behind that. Ollie Wright in the opposition goal, stretched out to his left-hand side, but nothing he could do to stop that. It was moving with pace and with power.
He just hit it so true, didn't he? And actually, I mentioned pre-season, we've seen him try his luck from range plenty of times. He appears to be a really good striker of the ball, and we've seen Hunter and Sharon do plenty of good defensive work, but both of them. Sharon had the header at the beginning of the second half as well. We've seen them both look to get forward and make an impact in an attacking sense as well, which is really pleasing.
And all of a sudden, Darren Sarll is having second thoughts about making that change.
Well, exactly, yeah. It's interesting now how you approach the rest of the game, because I think a criticism that a lot of Pools fans would have levelled at all the managers last season was that once they got a goal ahead, they were too happy to rest on their laurels.
As Yeovil Town try to make inroads through the Pools defence, with Matt Worthington, the captain, trying to lead by example, but is easily crowded out by the Pools defence, and Joel Dixon has the ball in his grasp. It's actually going to be Yeovil who make the next change. Substitutions getting ready over in the Glovers dugout. And through ball through the Pools defence that, well, they're just not on. They're not on the right pages here. They're on completely different pages at the minute. Both the midfield of Yeovil and Aaron Jarvis at the top end of the pitch. One zigs and the other one zags. Meanwhile, I was concerned there for a minute because Luke Waterfall went down completely off the ball, clutching his knee, and I did think, oh, I hope he hasn't twisted something there. But I think it looks to be a spot of cramp.
I think he was just stretching 3 or 4 minutes ago as well. Obviously, he's had a slightly interrupted pre-season, so that's obviously a slight concern, because you don't really want to have to make a change in central defence, especially not a player of Waterfall's calibre, and obviously what he gives you as a leader and communicator as well, but let's hope that he's going to be okay and that physio Danny O'Connor is going to be able to sort him out.
Yeah, he's just getting the common stretch of the hamstring to alleviate that cramp. Meanwhile, both sets of players over on the far side to take on some fluids and some instructions from their respective dugouts. Well, Michael Smith is going off for Yeovil, and on comes Jordan Thomas, another debut for the Glovers. As for Pools, Darren Sarl handing another slip to the fourth official, so I think it's going to be a double change. You can see Anthony Mancini. Well, is he? No, he's not.
Is it Sass Davies?
Sass Davies.
I think Waterfall's going to have to come off here.
Yeah, it looks that way. So off goes the captain, Luke Waterfall. Let's hope that isn't an injury and it's just precaution, because Pools, with their injury record last season, you certainly hope that does not reappear this time round.
Yeah, I mean, he's walking off as though he looks okay, isn't it? I mean, I think first game of the season, 1 goal up with 20 minutes to go, he wouldn't come off unless he really was unable to carry on. But I mean, thankfully, Pools are reasonably well stocked, you would think, in central defence with Billy Sass Davies, who's obviously come on, and Manny Honorise, who is also on the bench. I thought Sass Davies had a slightly indifferent pre-season, if I'm honest. I know a lot of people were impressed with him. I think he was a little bit susceptible to that ball over the top, and that can happen. He's getting used to new teammates and the such like, but let's hope he can announce himself here.
Well, Anthony Mancini put his bib back on and sat down on the bench as Yeovil get back underway. Pools leading by a 1-0. Jack Hunter scoring on his debut, a great strike after some neat build-up play, including Charman, Campbell, Desirue involved as well, and Hunter wins the ball in midfield desperately. He wanted that more than the captain, Matt Worthington of Yeovil. Ferguson, ball over the top, looking for Joe Gray, and finds him in at the angle, tries to set himself inside the box and just gets it taken away from him in the last possible moment.
It was a great challenge, wasn't it, Rob? It was a really good run again, and I think it was Morgan Williams who, Gray just gave him half a chance with that touch, didn't he? And Williams slid in, and it was a crucial defensive intervention.
And Joe Gray looking frustrated with himself there, but he did really well to collect the ball, to set himself, get the angle, because it wasn't an advantageous angle initially. He had to adjust, and as he did, the challenge came in, and Pools have a corner. It's going to be an in-swinger from Adam Campbell as he resets the ball. And the referee is coming across to have a look at the ball. Is it in the quadrant? Is it not?
I think he's maybe wasting a little bit of time here, isn't he?
Yes, this is the experience of Adam Campbell, and that experience sees him get a yellow card.
I mean, it wasn't in the quadrant, to be fair, was it? And the referee's probably well within his rights to book him. I think Campbell was pushing his luck.
And then Adam Campbell just winding up the fans there by then re-spotting the ball outside of the quadrant once more before replacing it. Campbell, after all of that, into the front post, headed away through to the far side. Charman does really well to get right side of his man and win the ball, using his strength to hold him off, and wins the corner for good measure. Great work rate by Luke Charman there. Just didn't give up. It would have been easy for him to just let that go, but real fight.
I think both Gray and Charman, they're pretty lion-hearted players, aren't they? And they will chase down a lot of loose balls, and that's the kind of thing that Darren Sarl will love to see. And we saw Gray do it a minute ago, and we saw Charman, who's actually had a really good game this afternoon so far, do it there. Excellent.
Corner from the far side. This time it's going to be David Ferguson to deliver as he puts up the signal. Manny Desirue tangling with his man inside the box, gets the run on him. There's a header in there that is over the crossbar. I did wonder if Ollie Wright had got a touch on that, but I think it was Tom Parks who had the final contact with the ball.
It's one of those, he's headed it down into the ground, hasn't he? If he hadn't headed it, I know that's what they tell you to do, and more often than not it probably works, but he heads it down into the ground, actually from such close range, gets such power on the header that it hits the turf and bounces over the crossbar. But it was a real good chance, but credit to Parks for attacking the ball so well.
Parks then almost going down with cramp, but as soon as the referee started to wave on the physios, Parks stood straight back up and then was trying to plead his case with the referee. No, ref, I don't need to go off, I'm absolutely fine, honest. And the referee wags his finger as if to say, no more games, please. Let's get on with the football. With 74 minutes on the clock, Hartlepool United leading by 1-0 at Yeovil, their longest trip of the season, and it's on the opening day. Darren Sarll against one of his former employers, Mark Cooper. The same can be said for him in the Yeovil dugout. Just put pen to paper on a new 3-year contract just the other week, did Cooper. And more changes getting ready in the Yeovil dugout. As Manny Dizarouwe, just the ground goes from underneath his feet there for a moment, and Manny Dizarouwe just turns to the bench to gesture. I hope that hasn't tweaked anything, but long goes the ball. Dan Dodd's underneath it and finds Joe Gray. Dizarouwe seems to be moving fine. Joe Gray certainly is as he gallops in field and then slides in, and the judge should have fouled his man. I think Manny Dizarouwe is called for a new set of boots, whether he's lost a stud or not. Meanwhile, a third change for Yeovil. Off goes Brett McCann. And on comes Sonny Blulow Everton. So Darren Sarll hands yet another piece of paper to the fourth official. Free kick for Yeovil into the penalty area. Sharman is there and has to head behind for a corner to Yeovil.
First bit of real concerted pressure that Pools are just having to withstand at the minute, and they've defended the set pieces well so far this afternoon. But obviously Luke Waterfall, the organiser, and of course he gives you a lot given his height and the way he attacks the ball, so it'll be interesting to see how they cope without their captain now.
Anthony Mancini is stripped and ready to come on, but we're going to have this corner first. Delivered by Yeovil into the front post, headed away by Manny Dizarouwe. Only as far as Blulow Everton. He goes back, and listen to the moans and groans from the home fans there. Ollie Wright midway inside his own half, the opposition keeper, dressed all in orange. As Mancini waits to enter the stage for the first time this season. Long goes the ball. Ferguson is shoved down to the floor, nothing given from the referee. Pools are in trouble here if they're not careful. A curling effort to the back post that is wide. Jordan Young just testing the resolve of the Pools defence. Ferguson pleads his case with the referee, and as a result gets a booking.
Those are the kind of things, frustrating as it may be, you don't want to pick up silly bookings, especially at this stage in the game. What happens if Ferguson needs to stop a counter-attack, or an attack rather?
Well, that's 4 yellow cards now this afternoon. Corner to Yeovil. Over on the far side this time, it's going to be an in-swinger, and it is to the front post, headed away by Billy Sass-Davies and collected by Joel Dixon after it rebounded towards him inside his 6-yard area. He falls on top of that. And we'll just try to stretch out some more seconds into minutes. There's 78 on the clock, and Pools leading by 1-0 in Somerset. Now Manny Dizarouwe is off the pitch changing his boots, and the home fans taking offence to that. Now Joel Dixon goes down, and the referee makes the signal that he will be adding the time on. So Dixon goes down and is saying he needs some treatment from Danny the physio.
It does look to be I don't know if it's a genuine concern or if he's just wasting time. I mean, you'd be tempted to think, okay, he is just wasting time because Manny D's changing his boots, but Adam Smith has come straight out to warm up, and he's taken his bib off, but he's put it back on. Dixon, I think Darren Sarll did mention, hadn't trained throughout the entire week, so there could be some kind of minor injury that's troubling him, and of course it could just be a bit of gamesmanship, and we'll certainly see more of that from Pools under Song, I think, and I mean that in a positive way. Sometimes you've got to be nasty to be successful.
So the change is made during this break in play for Pools. Anthony Mancini steps onto the field, the magic man who sparkled momentarily last season. Injuries dominated his campaign. It's been a long road back. We didn't really see the best of him in the second half of last season. His hamstring almost completely off the bone when he did have that injury against Chesterfield, and wasn't quite the same in the second half of the season, but you can forgive him that. I mean, what an absolutely horrendous injury. And now with a full pre-season, or near enough a full pre-season under his belt, let's hope that he can get minutes and games under his belt and refine that form that saw him sparkle so much towards the beginning of last season.
That's a bad tackle.
And it is a really bad challenge there in midfield. And the referee taking a close look at this one. And it's
going to get a yellow card, I think, isn't he?
Yeah, it is. It's a yellow card for Harvey Greenslade.
And I think that's the right decision. Instinctively, they look a bit reckless, but he sort of come from almost a standing start, and Greenslade and Sharon are both going for the ball, and it just so happens that Sharon beats him to it, and Greenslade was maybe slightly off the ground, but Sharon didn't make a meal of it, and I think a yellow card's the right decision.
Free kick to Pools, just beyond the halfway line. Parks up towards Desirue, controls it on his chest, but gets taken away from him, up towards Nubler, who's been much quieter in this second half. Pools go hunting in packs, and they win it well with Sharon. Campbell applying the pressure. Desirue trying to latch onto a back pass. Parks tries to clear it, and then Hunter fouls his man. We're into the final 10 minutes plus stoppage time, which, if the referee is anything to go by, you would suspect it will be a fair few minutes at least.
I mean, there hasn't been a whole host of stoppages necessarily. Campbell was sort of winding up the fans, and obviously Dixon went down, and of course the goal. So yeah, maybe 4 would probably be what I would guess at this point. I would say Pools, though, 80 minutes in, they look extremely fit.
Yes. Just some scores elsewhere for you in the National League. Fylde 2, Solihull 2. Altrincham, who were leading Forest Green Rovers, have been pegged back. It's Aldershot, I beg your pardon. Aldershot 2, Forest Green 3. Goalless between Tamworth and Sutton United. Southend 1, York 0. Southend come to Victoria Park this time next week on BBC Radio T Sport. Oldham 3, Braintree 0. Maidenhead 0, Eastleigh 2. And Gateshead, listen to this, Gateshead 5, Ebbsfleet 0.
Wow.
We know how that feels, don't we? Dagenham and Redbridge 1, Wealdstone 1. Boston 0, Rochdale 2. Altrincham 1, Woking 0. Both teams have had a man sent off in that one. And of course here at Huish Park, it is Hartlepool United leading Yeovil by a goal to 0 thanks to new signing Jack Hunter. Ball over the top though. Joel Dixon comes out off his line to gather under pressure, though he was, from Jordan Thomas, as Spennymoor have added to their lead. Spennymoor 3, Chester 0. And for the Hartlepool link, 1 Matty Dolan.
Good old Matty. He can't score too many goals, I wouldn't think, but top man and a good player as well. And a really good bit of goalkeeping, by the way, from Joel Dixon. Made his mind up, and he was assertive, and he did well to get to the ball, because it looked like a really threatening ball over Ferguson's shoulder, but the goalkeeper did really well.
Hopeful ball forward. Dixon comes out to just gather that on the edge of his area, smothers it, and then pulls himself to his feet. So 8 minutes left to play. Yeovil 0, Hartlepool United 1 on your BBC Radio T Sport. The second commentary of the afternoon following Middlesbrough's triumphant return to Championship action. A 1-0 win over Swansea City thanks to an Emmanuel Latte-Lat penalty. This is danger though for Pools. Across into the box, headed away. And now first real touch for Anthony Mancini. Sliding challenge from Sharon, but possession goes back the way of the green shirts, and the pressure is starting to build on the Pools goal. Across into the area that Nublet can't get on the end of. And a fourth change for Mark Cooper's side. And Frank Nublet makes way. And Sam Pearson comes on to replace him. So a reminder that now this season in the National League you can name 7 substitutions, you can make 5, and Mark Cooper taking advantage of that. That was his 4th sub of the afternoon. Sam Pearson's first task is to tangle with Sharon. Mancini wins the header towards Desirue, but the ball bounces unkindly for Desirue, so he loses possession. 84 minutes on the clock. It was a nervy end to the Borough game. Mark Drury and Neil Maddison were almost having kittens at some of the goings on at the Riverside, as I'm sure many of you were listening at home.
I haven't missed this feeling, Rob.
I was about to say, Robbie, I'm really hoping that isn't the case here. Pools leading by a goal to nil with 6 minutes left to play, and Yeovil trying to find a way through.
Pools have managed it well enough so far. Yeovil not exactly banging down the door, but you do feel like there might be another chance in this game for the home side.
Yeovil in possession inside their own half of play. Short it comes on this near side to Thomas, one of the 4 substitutes so far. Pools really well organised out of possession. It's one thing I've really noticed this afternoon. They look well drilled, as you would expect, I suppose, from a Darren Saul side. Long ball floated towards Pearson. Jarvis picks it up for Yeovil. Out onto the left-hand side. Mancini is watching his man. But Yeovil look to make a way through, and a big shot from distance that Joel Dixon at his near post. Comfortable save in the end. Tried to make it look a little bit more spectacular than it was, perhaps, but I suspect that is trying to, again, work down the clock.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
the best way
credit
possible
to him, because he held on to it, and that was the main thing that he had to do. There is a little bit of mist, a little bit of dew out on the surface, I think, so can't be easy, and especially as we know Dixon has struggled with his confidence in the past, but he's had a pretty decent afternoon so far.
As Billy Sass-Davies just nudges the ball out into play. Louis Stevenson there almost gets his bib ripped off his back by Sam Pearson as the ball breaks for Campbell on the edge of his own area. Long ball forward towards Desirue. Just loses out there, but he's very isolated at the minute, is Desirue, surrounded by 3 green shirts as well. Williams for Yeovil. Now to this near side for Thomas, who's looked dangerous since he's come on down this near side. Ferguson intercepts and clears, but there's just no real outlet up the top end of the pitch, so it gets cleared and then back it comes from the green shirts. Pools looking for their first win on the opening weekend for 2 years after defeats at Barnet and Walsall. Oh, good work from Dan Dodds, back doing his defensive work, and as I say that, he then gives possession away just by the corner flag. The cross comes in, Hunter is there, a spectacular hooked shot that just glances wide of the left-hand post of Joel Dixon. Really good invention from Harvey Greenslade there, who twisted in the air to try and get some angle of his boot on the ball. He did, but it went wide of the mark, as the attendance is confirmed 3,646, 238 making the trip from Hartlepool, all 266 miles of it with a return leg as well. So huge well done to the 238 travelling from Pools.
Well said, Rob. Fantastic effort, and let's hope that when they travel back it's going to feel a little bit shorter if Pools can hold on to these 3 points. That was a nervous moment, wasn't it, with Greenslade? Like you said, it was a good moment of invention, actually. He probably did as well as he possibly could have done after Dodds had a great moment and then a bad moment where he sort of hacked at it with his left foot, but Pools survive, and there are 2 minutes of normal time remaining.
As Tamworth have taken the lead in the 85th minute against Sutton United. What a score that would be. Newly promoted Tamworth from the National League South, beating Sutton United, newly relegated from League 2. Yeovil Town cut a ball back into the penalty area. David Ferguson clatters into his man, but is judged to have done so legally, while Joel Dixon gathers the ball inside his 6-yard area. 88 minutes and some change on the clock. Yeovil 0, Hartlepool United 1. A Jack Hunter strike from the edge of the area, which arrowed into the back of the net, is the difference maker so far. But we are not home and dry yet. There's Yeovil trying to play across their back four, and they do so despite a few moans and groans from the home fans. And Pool's getting ready to make a change, and Darren Sall tactics in full floor to just again try and waste up some time, as Adam Campbell is going off. He's replaced by Louis Stevenson, who of course put pen to paper on that first professional contract last Christmas.
And Campbell was really impressive, actually.
Yeah, he was, yeah.
Tested only right once, but had a real hand in the goal, and he's just such an intelligent footballer.
Free kick for Yeovil, lifted up, teased towards the edge of the area, it bounces all the way through, and in fact Nathan Sherron's been thrown down on the turf, so the free kick is the way of Hartlepool United. And while we have this break, let's go over to Ray Simpson in the National League North. He's watching the Quakers against Kidderminster. Ray.
6.5 minutes left. It's now Darlington 0, Kidderminster 2. Quakers have had a couple of opportunities in the second half. Jack Maskell has had one, and so has Cedric Main. But unfortunately, they lost the ball on the halfway line, and it was played through for Max Kouya, who took it in his stride, ran into the area, and slotted it past Pete Jameson into the bottom right-hand corner. It's Darlington 0, Kidderminster 2.
Thank you for that, Ray Simpson. So not a good start to life in the National League North this season for the Quakers. Meanwhile, here in the National League, Yeovil 0, Hartlepool United 1. We're into the 90th minute. The board has just gone up. We have 7 minutes of stoppage time. Robbie Stelling from the Hartlepool Mail alongside me, shaking his head in exasperation as the ball goes over the top, looking for Manny Desirue. Tries to make something of it on the byline and does, but too much of an acute angle and easily dealt with and collected by Ollie Wright, who's waving his team forward. Now the home fans trying to implore their men in green and white up the field, but instead at the minute they're inside their own half. This is going to be a torturous final 7 minutes, isn't it?
Well, I don't know where they got 7 from, Rob. I know that they try and add on a bit more nowadays, but there's no way that they've found 7 minutes.
Thomas into the Yeovil captain Worthington, worked across the halfway line for 1-0. One of two central defenders. Back out to Worthington, looking to find the pass that will unpick the Pool's defence. Worthington into Pearce, looks to put a cross into the area, headed away by Sass Davies. Comes back out to this near side. 2 minutes of the 7 of stoppage time have elapsed. A nice 1-2 that finds Jordan Young, but now Pools have nicked possession, and Mancini looks to try and counter, and he looks to bulldoze his way through, but really good defensive work by Alex Whittle, who stepped across his man after Mancini had beaten 2 green shirts and just says, "I'll take that, thank you very much," and brushes him off the ball.
He's had a pretty good game, Whittle, but it was good work from Hunter again to stop the attack, and Mancini actually did pretty well, I think, with 3 or 4 green shirts chasing him down.
Just tried to alleviate that pressure, didn't he? As Darren Sall, hands on hips, double teapot on the edge of the technical area. Yeovil in possession. Pools have everyone behind the ball, everyone inside their own half of the pitch. And the Yeovil fans, a little bit of unrest. They feel they should be trying to make more advances up the pitch a lot quicker than they are at present. But Pools are packed in And the challenge is there. Come on, try and break us down. Pearson. Back to Worthington. Rolls his studs across the top of the ball and then gives it away to Ferguson, and Pools keep it and play with it in close quarters. Desirue then turns, and a sliding challenge from Jake Wannell, and that's got to be a yellow card. I mean, that was just utterly senseless from Wannell. I understand it was to try and stop the counter, but I mean, it was no attempt to play the ball there at all. And quite rightly, Jake Wannell gets a yellow card.
And
meanwhile,
sorry Rob, I was just going to say, you alluded to it there, excellent defensive organisation.
A change for Pools. Dan Dodds is going to go off. He turns to applaud the travelling Poolies. A great outing for Dan Dodds. A return from injury after a horrible injury that stopped him in his tracks last season. He's had to work so hard to get back, but he is back. And as we've said all afternoon long, he will be like a new signing, and one of the biggest hugs he gets in the dugout is from the physio, Danny O'Connor. Those two have been working closely together to get him back to full fitness. Great to see Dan Dodds back out in a Pool shirt, and you'd think he will have a big part to play in this season. Manny Onarise comes on to replace him. Yeovil on the attack. Joe Gray does really well to get back at his man, and then is fouled. Does he? No, says the referee. Looked like a foul to me. Crossing the penalty area, Thomas is blocked and Gray has it back. Ferguson launches long, looking for Desirue. Doesn't reach him, but Nathan Sherrin gets underneath it and hammers it forward all the way through to Ollie Wright in the goal away to our left-hand side. We are 5 minutes into the 7 minutes of stoppage time. Yeovil 0, Pools 1. BBC Radio T Sport on 95 FM, DAB Digital Radio, Freeview 714. Will Pools make it a double for our teams, our commentaries this afternoon? Borough with the 1-0 win against Swansea in the Championship. Pools in the National League, leading thanks to Jack Hunter, but Yeovil putting the pressure on with 2 minutes left to play. Really good play there by Jordan Young as he tries to dance his way through the midfield. Pearson back to Young once more, the blonde hair of Pearson, as he tries to find a pass towards Thomas, and he does. Back to Young, dinked infield for Pearson, who looks busy and tricky, and he's floating this way and that as the ball is launched right on top of Joel Dixon, who does well to take it, command it and collapse on top of the ball for safekeeping. We've got 60 seconds of stoppage time left to play. Remember, it is a minimum of 7, with Pools leading by a goal to 0 on the opening day of the National League campaign.
Well, they better not add any more on, Rob. You'd say a minimum.
It's the one thing we always often forget. And it gets to 7 minutes and we all go, all right, that'll be enough, and then we wonder why we're still playing.
Exactly.
Nathan Sherrin was just dragged to the floor then. Nathan Sherrin gets booked when he is making the argument that he was the one being fouled and obstructed. So that's 5 yellow cards now is the tally for Hartlepool United this afternoon. 30 seconds of the 7 minutes of stoppage time left to play. Yeovil go long with the goalkeeper. It's over the top. It bounces all the way through. Joe Gray goes down after tangling with Thomas. The home fans want a penalty. The referee wags his finger. And Gray and Ferguson combine to complete the clearance to the base of the centre circle. Ollie Wright is waving everybody forward, but he's taking his time about actually playing it to the edge of the box. There it goes now. Ferguson heads it away. It falls to Worthington. Looks to clip one up into the penalty area. Onarise back defending to clear. Thomas settles the ball down on the pitch. Young to Pearson. A header away from Sherrin, but it's only as far as the green shirts. The ball's sticking to those green shirts as it's delivered into the box. Joel Dixon comes to get it and fumbles it, and the shot is blazed over. Hartlepool United get out of jail with that one. Joel Dixon was a long way from home. He dropped it, it bounced, it bobbled, and the follow-up shot was by Harvey Greenslade, and thankfully for Darren Sarll and this Hartlepool United side. Harvey Greenslade blazed his shot over the crossbar with Dixon stranded. The 7 minutes have elapsed, and surely that will be it. But that was heart in mouths.
Exactly. I think Darren Sarll's about to get in trouble for some gesticulations, but like you say, I saw Dixon coming to get it and I thought, oh, good for him, he's coming and he's claiming it. Honorise was slightly sort of in his way at the back post, and Dixon, I mean, he spilled it. It was a real bad mistake, but thankfully Pools survive, and you would think that's going to be it.
And one of the biggest cheers of the afternoon is Darren Sarll getting booked by the referee. Sarll back at his own stomping ground and back with a win. Hartlepool United start the new National League campaign with a victory. They had to fight for it, they had to scrap, they had to show that endeavour that Darren Sarll's teams are often known for. And it was thanks to new signing Jack Hunter, who after some patient build-up play, Adam Campbell, Luke Charman, Campbell cushioning the ball into the path of Jack Hunter, who let rip from 18 yards, and it arrowed past Ollie Wright in the opposition goal. A screamer on his debut to give Pools the win. They had other opportunities, a shot from Adam Campbell, and really struggled to test Ollie Wright though in the majority of that game. And under pressure they were, certainly in the final 10 minutes or so, as Yeovil Town back into the National League after their promotion last season, fighting to try and get something from this game. A spill from Joel Dixon right at the death, so the eyes of Harvey Greenslade light up inside the area, but the ball bouncing in the air was at an awkward angle, and he fired his shot over, which was about the last kick of the game. Hartlepool United open with a win thanks to their new signing, one of their new signings on his debut, Jack Hunter. It ends Yeovil 0, Hartlepool United 1. Robbie.
Well, it's so difficult to win away from home in the National League, Rob, and it wasn't pretty all the time. In the first half, really there was nothing to separate the two teams, but Pools came out in the second half with a renewed intent. They had a clear game plan, and we can see Jack Hunter, the goal scorer, who I thought was absolutely outstanding, giving the fist pump to the hardy travelling supporters. Full credit to them, and they're going to go home happy, and don't they deserve it? Like you said, it was a real heart-in-mouth moment from Joel Dixon later on. I thought the Yeovil substitutes, Sam Pearson and Harvey Greenslade in particular, did make a real difference, but you're always going to concede a chance when you're hanging on and hanging on and hanging on. And Pools have done exactly what they came here to do, and overall I've been really impressed with them.
Pools start with a win. Darren Sarll and his new look Hartlepool United side are off and running, and just over 230 travelling poolies make the longest trip of the season, and they do so going back home knowing that their side have secured 3 points on the opening afternoon. It ends Yeovil 0, Hartlepool United 1.
Stay there a sec, Rob. Just to tell you that Darlington have scored a late goal at Blackwell Meadows, so it's Darlington 1, Kidderminster Harriers 2. They're into added on time there. Will Hatfield, can they get an equaliser in the time that remains? We will keep you up to date with that. But much like Borough earlier on, Rob and Robbie, a win is a win is a win on the opening day. As Robbie said there, it wasn't the best match in the world. That's probably going to be replicated across the country, but for those teams that get the 3 points, that matters not a jot.
Absolutely. It's at this point in the season, the very first game, and Darren Sarll touched upon it in his pre-match press conference when he was asked, how close will this side be to being what you want it to be, and he said absolutely it'll be nowhere near. This is the first game of a long, arduous season, and Hartlepool United will need every single member of that squad. They'll also need more members who haven't signed yet. They'll need more numbers, that's for sure, but today was about getting the points on the board, getting a good start, and as we speak, you talk about what it means, over 230 travelling poolies who have all come to the edge of the pitch to serenade the players. Every single member of the coaching staff, the players are over there with the fans, celebrating together. And it is that togetherness that, you know, when this club has done great things under Challoner and previous managers, it's had that togetherness. I'd say in recent years, since Challoner's departure, not to go over all ground, but, you know, that togetherness hasn't been there. There's been a real disconnect between the fans and the club. Darren Sarll now is tasked with bringing that back, and one way to do that is to win on the pitch, and that's what they've done this afternoon.
And the most obvious thing, of course, he's going to have a good night, isn't he? Because it's against one of his former teams.
Yeah, if he, you know, any manager who says, "Oh, it's not about me, it's about the," they're lying through their teeth. And I can bet you that Darren Sarll will be ecstatic with that win. It is a club that is very, very close to his heart. You know, he had some good times here. He had some really difficult times here to navigate as well. They lost the captain to suicide when he was here, and Darren Sarll and the entire Yeovil team just absolutely taken aback by that, as you can imagine. And Sarll talks about that quite often at any opportunity, just as, you know, what that did to him and how that put his life and football into perspective. So it is a club that, you know, he still has a very soft spot for. But that being said, make no mistake, you know, Hartlepool United is his team now. It's his club now. He is the man who has to try and get this club back where everybody feels it belongs, which is in the Football League. And, you know, he's going to have to upset a few people in order to do that, and his former employers of Yeovil are definitely one of those.
All right, lovely. Thank you very much indeed to Robbie Stelling of the Hartlepool Mail, and to Rob Law, who'll now go and speak to the aforementioned Darren Sarll, and you'll hear from him before 6 o'clock with a bit of luck tonight on BBC Radio T Sport. Also to come before 6, we will let you hear from Michael Carrick, again the Borough head coach. You missed that earlier on. We'll let you hear that after their victory over Swansea earlier at the Riverside, and also debutants Aidan Morris, who talked to us afterwards as well. Just a little reminder on the Borough that our podcast Red Alert is back, and it is available to download now. It is only on BBC Sounds, so you need to head there, and if you haven't already subscribed to it, why not? But if you haven't, then subscribe. Search for Red Alert and it'll come up in your feed there if you subscribe to it. Every time there's a new episode, there is a new episode now detailing Borough's 1-0 win over Swansea earlier on. They are still playing at Blackwell Meadows, where Darlington are looking for the equaliser, and in the last couple of minutes the full-time whistle has gone, and Darlington have begun the season with defeat at home to Kidderminster Harriers by 2-1. Give you the details on the scorers on that very shortly. All the rest of the scores coming up to, and also before 6, by the way, we will hear from Richard Kilty, the Teesside athlete who got a bronze medal at the Olympic Games. He wasn't fit enough to run in the final of the 4x100 metres relay at the Stade de France last night, but of course he helped them into the final, and we will hear from him and what his bronze medal means. And it means the world to him. We'll hear from Richard Kilty before 6.
BBC Radio T's Breakfast
with Amy Oakton.
Weekday mornings from 6.
Charlie Tanfield, he did it. Our great Ayton cyclist has won silver at the Olympics.
It was incredible to come away with a medal at the Games. You know, it's something that you don't even think could be capable when you're younger.
You've done absolutely amazing. We're all super, super proud.
Yeah, it's been